On an evening in late 2018, George Ordens was concluding a day at the beach with his family when he noticed a young man in distress. At approximately 7 p.m., as Ordens and his family were heading to the parking lot, he spotted the individual clinging precariously to a flotation device just offshore. Unbeknownst to Ordens, this man and two friends had impulsively jumped from a nearby cliff mere minutes earlier. Drawing on his experience as a former lifeguard, Ordens sensed the gravity of the situation. He immediately sprang into action, swimming out to the struggling young man. Upon reaching him, Ordens dragged the man to shore and began performing CPR. It quickly became apparent that the victim wasn't intoxicated as initially suspected, but had ingested a large quantity of seawater. As Ordens worked to stabilize the first victim, he learned of two other men still missing. Unbeknownst to the rescuers, one of these men had managed to drag himself from the lagoon and crawl to the nearby parking lot, where he too was violently expelling seawater. This left one man unaccounted for in the treacherous waters. Ordens, prioritizing safety, waited for ambulance arrival before returning to search for the third man. Accompanied by another rescue diver, Ordens scoured the lagoon for nearly 20 minutes. Their grim search ended when they discovered the last man lying motionless on the lagoon bottom, approximately 7 feet below the surface. By then, it was clear the man had been dead for some time. Upon bringing the body ashore, paramedics immediately covered it with a sheet, confirming the tragic outcome. All three men were of Bangladeshi descent, and surprisingly, the two survivors admitted that none of them knew how to swim. Investigators found no evidence of drug or alcohol use. It is still unknown why they jumped into the lagoon. This incident was followed by another tragic event in early 2021. Sachet Bamali, a 23-year-old Nepali student, jumped into the lagoon despite multiple warning signs and barriers. Like the Bangladeshi men before him, Bali didn't know how to swim. His family later revealed that he had been fulfilling a lifelong dream of studying in Australia, a dream that ended in tragedy at Wattamolla Lagoon. Shifting our focus to Hawaii, we encounter equally treacherous waters. According to the Hawaii Department of Health, ocean drowning has been the leading cause of death for visitors over recent decades. Of particular concern is Hanauma Bay on the island of Oahu, where nearly 4 drownings have occurred in its deceptively tranquil waters. Located just a 20 to 30-minute drive from downtown Honolulu, Hanauma Bay's stunning beauty and convenient location attract nearly 3 million visitors annually. The horseshoe-shaped bay, surrounded by spits of land to the north and south, features a picturesque white sandy beach on its western shore. Covering about 105 acres, the bay is characterized by concentric reefs with flat sandy areas between them. While the water depth near the shore is only about 10 feet, it plunges well past 70 feet in the outer reefs. The bay's outer portion is generally left to experienced divers and snorkelers, but the inshore reefs are regularly explored by vacationers eager to witness the hundreds of marine species inhabiting the area. Two areas in Hanauma Bay are particularly hazardous: the Toilet Bowl and Witch's Brew. The Toilet Bowl is a toilet-like but turbulent and unpredictable tidal pool that rises and falls with the wind, waves, and tide. From a distance, it appears inviting, but it has been the site of multiple injuries and dramatic rescues. Witch's Brew is characterized by strong currents, roiling water, and huge waves that crash into the rocky shore, sending spray and foamy water up to 40 feet into the air. In the spring of 2015, Bob and Jane Jones, a couple from Washington State, fell victim to Hanauma Bay's hidden dangers. Bob, 60, and Jane, 55, had been married for over 3 decades. Bob was a retired Army captain and volunteer firefighter, while Jane worked as a social worker and community activist. On Friday, March 13, 2015, the couple arrived at Hanauma Bay for a snorkeling excursion. The weather seemed perfect, with no obvious signs of danger. After appreciating the scenery, they waded into the water. When waist-deep, they strapped on their fins and began swimming toward Witch's Brew, several hundred yards offshore. The current felt strong, but they considered themselves relatively strong swimmers and didn't think it would pose a problem. It's unclear how much research they had done about Hanauma Bay, or if they knew that Witch's Brew was best left to experienced snorkelers. Witnesses on shore and in the water noticed one of the couple in serious distress. The commotion made it difficult to discern exactly what was happening, but it appeared one was struggling to stay afloat while the other attempted to help. At approximately 10:30 a.m., a passing hiker called 911. Lifeguards immediately sprang into action, racing from their stations and speeding out into the surf on jet skis. Bob and Jane were pulled from the water minutes after the ordeal began. Back on shore, CPR was administered as hundreds of stunned onlookers watched in horror. Tragically, both Bob and Jane were pronounced dead by the time EMTs arrived on the scene. Our third story takes us to Queen's Bath, located just north of Princeville on the island of Kauai. In many respects, it's similar to the toilet bowl at Hanauma Bay, but larger and prone to even more dramatic tidal surges. Water levels can rise and fall 8 to 10 feet in a matter of seconds, and the area is regularly battered by massive waves that seem to appear out of nowhere. Queen's Bath is only accessible via a narrow trail winding down exposed lava rock above the pool. This treacherous path has been the site of countless accidents, including slips, falls, and broken bones. When rescuers respond to emergencies, they must navigate this same precarious route, often necessitating helicopter extractions. In mid-December 2018, 23-year-old Yayun Chang from Los Angeles and her boyfriend were making their way down the narrow path to Queen's Bath. Like many before them, they had likely seen the warning signs but proceeded anyway. They were probably unaware that authorities had recently listed the pool as very dangerous and that a high surf warning had been issued. When Yayun was about halfway down the trail, an unexpectedly large wave slammed into her, sweeping her off the path and into the sea. To her boyfriend and other bystanders, it appeared she was unconscious upon impact. Yayun remained lifeless and eventually disappeared. A massive 4-day search followed, but Yayun's body was never found. She was presumed to have drowned, marking the 7th death on Kauai that year. Another incident occurred at Queen's Bath in March 2022. A 16-year-old girl ventured onto the rocks during a period of relative calm. Engrossed in the beautiful landscape, she failed to notice the changing conditions. When she attempted to leave, she was trapped by a barrage of impassable waves and tidal surges. Fortunately, a bystander spotted her predicament and called 911. Rescuers arrived via jet ski and helicopter, but ultimately, a firefighter saved the girl. He climbed out to the girl and led her to safety on foot. The teenager sustained only minor injuries and was released to her family at the scene. Kauai Fire Chief Stephen Goebel later reminded the public that such incidents could easily end in tragedy, and that dangerous rescues posed serious risks to responders as well. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to True Perils for more interesting videos.